Hey there, digital world. Welcome back once again to another episode of Spliced In Later. It is time for yet another movie review in March Madness, where a lot of movies have come out and I've talked about them. Thank you everybody who's listened to my last couple reviews where I talked about Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, and Kung Fu Panda 4. Kind of on the fence, leaning towards negative reviews, which is unfortunate because it's not what I like to go the direction wise on this channel, on this podcast, on whatever. But it makes for good content, and I've had some interesting feedback and questions about those movies, so thank you once again. But as I said, apart from Dune Part 2, I've been waiting for a movie this year that I can just say is good and that I enjoyed. Mean Girls came very, very close, but so far, not that much has really wowed me. Well, I'm happy to report that I'm very excited to talk to you about the movie we're reviewing today because I thought it was good, I had fun, and I am happy. And honestly, if a movie can make me happy, then hooray, we're off to a good start. Today we're talking about Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire. Godzilla X Kong, if you will, but I believe the X is and. If you want, it could be Godzilla versus, but I think they're more frenemies than enemies at this point. It's the continuation of the MonsterVerse, which began with 2014's Godzilla, which then led into Kong Skull Island in 2017, another Godzilla film, Godzilla King of the Monsters, in 2019, before the eventual meeting of Titans in 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, I love Godzilla. I'm a Godzilla head. My big chunky boy that runs around and smashes through buildings and screams and literally spits down other monsters' throats by breathing nuclear firepower down their esophagus. He's a great guy. He's a lovable monster. And also King Kong. King Kong, I've seen a lot of his movies, even as far back as the original 1933 one. Most Kong movies are always the same sort of thing where everyone goes to Skull Island, they die, and they bring Kong back to be the eighth wonder of the world, and he climbs the Empire State Building, and he dies. But much like Godzilla, there's always been like a four-dimension to Kong, I think, at least in the Western movies. If you watch the Japanese Godzilla, I think they're more powerful in what Godzilla represents as a mirror of climate change and humanity's effect on the environment and all of that stuff as well. You should definitely check them out. Check out all Godzilla films and check out all King Kong films because there's something for everybody. In regards to them being in their own universe, the MonsterVerse, it's a crazy concept, I believe, even to the point where you have to really beef up Kong's size and strength just so he is even able to stand against Godzilla or even alongside Godzilla and be the same height or whatever. The idea way back in the day that they would meet and have their own fight movie seems silly to me. But I have to say, aside from the MCU, MonsterVerse is probably my second favorite film franchise of connected movies. So many things have tried and failed, DC, even that Universal Monsters universe, which never ever happened. But I think it's the simplicity of its execution for the MonsterVerse. They've never strayed away from Godzilla and Kong. They're not like, okay, now let's make a Rodan movie. Let's make a King Ghidorah movie or something like that. The closest they've come to spinning it out is a recent TV show on Apple TV Plus or whatever streaming. There's a billion streaming services these days, which is called Monarch: Legacy of Monsters, which is about kind of a trippy past and present look at the secret agency that's documenting these monsters and how they approach it and sort of going alongside these emergences of Godzilla to the general public, seeing how the everyday people live in this world. Because when you're watching these movies and Godzilla's smashing through towns and Kong's stepping on literal monuments and climbing them, there are people that are getting squished or having their lives ruined. So Monarch is a look at just how you would live in this world. I wouldn't want to live in the Godzilla and Kong world. I'm quite happy to look at it from the outside. But it was actually quite good. Kurt Russell's in it. I recommend checking that out if you haven't seen it. In regards to how I've enjoyed the Godzilla and Kong movies, most have been a hit for me. My favorite is Godzilla King of the Monsters. I think that's like the perfect Godzilla goofy movie where it's fun, it's silly, has some really good fight scenes with monsters, and leaves you with a big smile on your face. Kong Skull Island is a close second for me. It's a good monster movie, you know, where people go to a place and get eaten one by one. I do enjoy those type of movies as well, because I guess I'm a little bit of a sadist. And I think the blending of the worlds together is quite good. I wasn't hugely impressed with Godzilla versus Kong, but only in regards to its execution. I think it had some pacing issues, mainly this constant need in these monster movies to always have human characters and focus on them and what they're doing. People go to a Godzilla movie and a King Kong movie because they want to see those things. They don't really care about the humans. They want to see Godzilla fight King Kong. And when you're spending a majority of the movie with those creatures split up, doing their own things, and just focusing on the humans running around after them and talking about things, kind of lose what makes these movies fun and exciting. But when Godzilla and Kong did eventually throw down in that movie, it was very enjoyable. And then, of course, the ultimate, okay, we have to team up to fight the greater evil, which was Mechagodzilla in that film. But the thing to know about these Godzilla and Kong movies as well is they're not a tour de force. They're not artsy movies that will make you question the meaning of life and ponder over how cinema has come and go, oh yes, Academy Awards, here we come. Not like that. But you can't go to these movies with that impression because they're not designed to be that way. They're designed to be fun, silly, goofy monster movies that will entertain you with the fighting and the destruction and the goofiness, but also give the Godzilla and Kong characters just a little bit of personality that you can emphasize with them in a way and have some good times. That's why I love King of the Monsters, like one of my favorite movies ever. It's just good, clean, goofy, silly fun, and we need more of that in our lives. We need more of these movies which are good but goofy fun. You know, there's a fine line between just making a bad movie and then there's making a bad movie that's accidentally good, and then making not a tour de force movie but just a standard fun movie that succeeds in their execution. And I think these Godzilla Kong movies do it very well, and that's why I enjoy them so much. With this one, Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire, I was a little apprehensive because I just wasn't sure what you do next. Having had these two meet up and clash, it becomes the risky, just doing it again and again and again, and the idea of it becomes stale. But I'm happy to report that not only do I think they take the world and the characters in new directions and do something different with them, I honestly think it could be the best executed movie in this Godzilla Kong MonsterVerse. Maybe. At least with these two together. Personally, maybe it... okay. I'm already contradicting myself. I do think King of the Monsters is the best Godzilla movie in this world. Skull Island's probably the best Kong movie in this world. Let's fix it up by saying this movie is definitely better than Godzilla versus Kong and services both of its main characters from these other films well. I will say it is once again more of a Kong movie than a Godzilla movie. I think that's by design because Kong is just so much more of a emphasizing monster creature. He can emote, he has emotions, he has connection with human characters, he has wants and desires and things that are more easy to read, whereas Godzilla is more a weapon that you point to solve a problem. He doesn't really have goals and motivations and tragic backstories and the last of his kind or anything like that. He's just King of the Monsters. So when you're doing a movie, and I think you pick the Kong route just so you've got something to happen. But Godzilla's still effectively used in this for sure as well. And I think with what they're up against, what they face off with, I think it's interesting in a new way for them to grudgingly have to team up. And the human characters, I think as well, are better executed than they have been in any of the other movies before, by far. There's not too many of them. It's a select core few of them. They don't distract or take away with what's going on. What they're doing is in service to Kong's story. And apart from one specific human story of Rebecca Hall and her adopted daughter, the rest are just there to make jokes and have fun. And for the most part, it succeeds in its execution. Basic plot of Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire. We pick up in the world after Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla rules the world above. Kong is living in the world below, in the Hollow Earth. It is really funny watching these movies where there is a Hollow Earth and creatures down there, and humans are flying around in their special designed spaceships. And you think that these movies are in the same universe as 2014 Godzilla, where it was literally our world, just if Godzilla showed up. I think that's very funny. But yeah, Godzilla, he's just chilling up there on top, just king of the monsters. Kong's not doing as well down in the Hollow Earth because he is the last of his kind, and Kong yearns for some sort of family, a connection. He wants other monkeys to be a family. He's very alone, and he feels it. But during the course of his investigations down in Hollow Earth, he actually stumbles across a hidden society of monkeys, including a mini Kong, who's delightfully psychotic. We'll talk about him in a bit. But with the good comes the bad, because these monkeys are imprisoned down there because they're dominated by a sinister, all-powerful monkey character called the Scar King, who really wants to just rule the world and decimate everybody. And he's awful and nasty and terrible, and he needs to be stopped. And once he realizes that there is potentially a way out of Hollow Earth, he and his subordinates, including a secret Titan kaiju monster that's on his side, which I'll keep a secret because they managed to keep that secret in the trailer. So, if you haven't seen it, go in and be surprised by it. So Kong has to try and rally up against them and then bring Godzilla into the fray. Godzilla, meanwhile, while all this is happening, realizes that he's due for a big fight soon, wakes up, and just goes on a little bit of a rampage, just powering himself up, getting himself ready to be Nukezilla. Nukezilla is my favorite term. It's when Godzilla has powered himself up with so much nuclear energy that he's literally just exploding with power and energy, and he looks incredible. He was great in King of the Monsters. We got a Nukezilla. This time he's pink instead of blue. That's not a statement or anything. He's just pink. Get over yourselves, everybody. And that's really it. Eventually, everything will come to a head, and Godzilla and Kong will have to team up to stop the Scar King. They'll be assisted by the humans. They've got some surprise characters making returns in here that I didn't know were coming, which add to the fight, which is awesome. And what's great is that it adds to an ever-expanding view of Hollow World and Titans and apes, and the idea that it is a bottomless well of potential for things they can do, which is awesome, and how they expand, how the humans interact with all this stuff as well. And once it's over, it's over. It gets you out of there, the credits roll, that's it. And I love a movie that just knows, okay, we made our point, it's over, time to go. Look, if you didn't already tell, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a big dumb smile on my face for most of the time. And outside of Doom Part 2, it's easily my almost favorite film of the year. As I said, Dune exists, so unfortunately it can't quite make it. But it's trumped everything else I've seen so far this year, by and large, because it is just silly, goofy fun. It's awesome to see these monsters wailing on each other. It's interesting to see the different types of monsters and the different creatures that end up having to work together or that are enemies. And it also has a really fun tongue-in-cheek humor. The human characters, Brian Tyree Henry and Dan Stevens, are here to tell jokes. Sometimes they work, and sometimes they fall flat. But they're likable characters. They're not just the comic relief for the sake of comic relief. You enjoy seeing them. They're really nice. And it's leaps and bounds ahead of just forcing humor in like they've done for human characters in the past. And Kong himself, pretty funny dude in this movie. He has a bit of a wit about him, especially with how he interacts with the other monkeys. He doesn't take shit from anyone. If a monkey's screaming in his face, he'll just punch him out. If someone's tried to sneak up on him, he'll raise his eyebrow. I love when he's trying to sort of let Godzilla know that terrible things are coming and they have to work together, but Godzilla just wants to fight. And he's just going like, whoa, man, hold up. Let's take it easy now. But once Godzilla punches him one too many times, he's like, fuck this, and punches him back. It's great. Alongside him is Mini Kong. You've probably seen Mini Kong in the trailers. I guess maybe he's Godzilla Jr. No, he's not Godzilla Jr. He's Kong Jr. I don't know the expanded Kong lore. I know there's like Son of Kong, So I don't know if there is a little Kong in established canon. I don't think this is that. I think it's just a little monkey character. He's not what you expect him to be. He shows up and you think he's going to be this cute little, Kong, come help me. Fight I'm imprisoned, whatever. But he's actually kind of psychotic and insane. And in his first outright meeting with Kong, he just tries to kill him, which leads to a very funny battle scene with him in a few eps, which I won't spoil. You can just see how Kong executes his attacks. It is pretty funny. It's like reminiscent of Simpsons fighting. It's pretty funny. But then later on, Kong's trying to get Mini Kong to sort of take him to all the other gorillas or whatever. And the whole time, Mini Kong is just trying to find ways to kill him, to lure him into dangerous situations where he can be attacked by other monsters or fall off cliffs or things. And every time he fails, he just gets really annoyed and screams and yells. And it's very funny to watch. So good stuff there. And even then, Mini Kong goes on his own little character arc story where he eventually warms up to Kong and becomes a heroic character. And they do really well at making that feel earned by starting him out as such a little shithead. I also thought the villain, the Scar King, he's a very unique villain to follow up in this world after getting King Ghidorah and Mecha Godzilla. For those ones, they're big, hulking, behemoth monsters, brute strength, that takes everything Godzilla and Kong have to take them down. The Scar King is different. He's not powerful. He is not this big, unstoppable creature that matches Kong in his strength. Instead, he's very skinny, but also, as a result, very agile. He's very acrobatic. He's more dodging and using forward thinking for how he attacks. And he also gets other people to attack for him. He has dirty work assigned to his subordinates. And that's what's good about him too, is he is slimy. He's nasty. He's a very terrible character villain that you want to hate. And he's still got the mannerisms of like a psychotic chimpanzee. And he's really fun to watch. There's not like depth to him. There's not like, the Scar King wants to get back at the world because he was wronged or anything. He's just nasty. And sometimes that's what you want. You just want bad guy to be bad. And he is bad. And he immediately, from the first scene you finally see him, he does some terrible shit. He puts Kong in his place. He shows off his secret weapon. And you're like, yeah, he is a formidable villain. And he's different. There is something unique about him in terms of how he approaches things, how he looks, how he acts, which stands him out from just generic, big, hulking, bad guy monster everyone has to team up to fight at the end. Where the movie isn't perfect, it kind of looks a bit ugly. I think because obviously like 96% of it is CG. And nothing on the CG animators. Obviously, it is a hard job to animate all this stuff and read a deadline and all that. But because so much of it is shot on green screen and everything, there's a lot of awkward close-ups to things to try and hide the CG, which just makes it look a bit claustrophobic. And the color palette is a little ugly. Sometimes it looks really awesome, especially when Godzilla's bursting with pink nuke energy. But a lot of times it's very bland and grey and green, and it doesn't really pop. King of the Monsters is a very colourful movie. I would like that, with the yellow and pink and green and all the different ways colour enhances these titans and creatures. Here, not so much. I guess because there's more monkeys than titans and they're all the same colour, sure. When it does use colour, there's another creature in here that's got like ice powers. He looks pretty awesome as well. It's just not used enough in that regard. And there is a bit of a pacing issue in the middle. This movie is so much fun when the fighting is occurring, when the monsters are either talking to each other or wailing on each other or trying to outsmart each other. And there are quite a few of those scenes, which is good. And the end is absolutely well worth the wait to get to the end, and it's just this big skirmish of fighting. But a big middle chunk of the movie is like three separate characters going from point A to point B, and they take a long time to get there. You've got Godzilla waking up, going to do some stuff, powering up for his battle. You've got Kong and Mini Kong traveling together as Mini Kong's taking Kong to go meet the Scar King. And then you've got the humans who are sort of following along behind Kong before they divert off into their own side mission and have to deal with their own stuff. But there's not a lot of threat in a lot of situations. It's just, here's Godzilla, he's moving, yep, he's going along. Let's check back in with Kong and Mini Kong. Yep, they're traversing the Hollow Earth, they're going strong. Here are the humans. Yep, they're having a little joke about the Hollow Earth and how crazy it is, and oh my god, I'm going to film this and take it up to the back, and then repeat a few more times. And it does make you go, okay, get to the next act, get to the point where we move on to things. And not really a detriment to the movie, but a lot of what is coming, you see a mile away. You know that Kong's going to find the monkeys, but the movie treats it like you don't know if there are monkeys out there or not. So dragging that reveal out when you already know where it's going hinders it a bit. But those are minor nitpicks in a movie that's not really designed to be perfect in that regard. It just needs to deliver on the spectacle, and it delivers 100%. Godzilla and Kong, 8 out of 10 from me. Honestly, I do need to think about whether this is my favorite MonsterVerse movie, because I enjoyed it so much, but I haven't watched the others in a while. I think I might need to refresh. But this is definitely a huge recommendation from me. It's exactly what I wanted from this world, which is fun, silly, goofy, monster mash mania that utilizes both Godzilla and Kong in a natural way to continue stories in their world. New things to do with these characters rather than just, what if they fought again? I ship them a lot. I really want Godzilla and Kong to just be the best of buddies, and I feel like we're getting there. So after this, I wouldn't object to another one. I would like to see them team up again, take on a new threat, explore more of this world. But also, if they don't, that's fine. This is a solid end to this world. I'm happy for them to leave it at that. So that's good. Either way, I'm happy. If you're looking for something fun to see over the Easter weekend, this is what I would recommend. Out of all the movies that I've reviewed over the last couple of weeks, Ghostbusters, Kung Fu Panda, this one, easily the one I'm like, this is where you'll have fun. It'll be worth your time, especially if you're a Godzilla fan, especially if you're a King Kong fan. It's fun for all ages. Adults will like it. Kids will enjoy it, I think. There's a few scenes which they might go, oh my god, that person was just eaten by a plant. But not too much of it. There's not a lot of jump scares and death and carnage that you might get from a MonsterVerse movie. Not so much. Not like a Skull Island skull crawlers impaling people and all of that sort of stuff. It's genuinely a good time. I'm so happy it was good. I'm so happy that I had a good time. My friends went and had a good time. It was just a good evening. And that's what you want from a movie sometimes. It doesn't need to make you think. It doesn't need to make you question reality or marvel at direction or acting or whatever. You just want to have some fun without it being stupid. And this succeeds wholeheartedly. Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire, solid stuff. There, well, thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed. I'll be back next week just for a standard ep. I don't believe I'll be seeing a new movie for a while, maybe, unless I go see that Monkey Man thing. I don't know. I definitely will be seeing The Fall Guy in a few weeks with Ryan Gosling. So there will be a review eventually. But until then, I'll come up with some stuff to keep us all entertained until then. So I hope you tune in for all of that stuff. I hope you've enjoyed my reviews for this last month, whether they've been goofy fun or depressingly disappointed. It's been an interesting month, interesting movies, and I hope you've enjoyed what I've had to say about them. So until next week, I love and appreciate you as always. You've been spliced in later. Adios, muchachos. I'll catch you next time.